Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Cantey, and this is another episode of Living Enlightened Every Day. And today we are asking the question, what happens when we allow, breathe, and contemplate those ABCs? Well, the answer is create. We create the answer to any problem. We create the solution to any of our challenges. So, how do we get to the ABCs? Let's find out. The ABCs are allowing, breathing, and contemplating. And when we do those three things, we create. We become creative. We become in touch with our innate being, our self. So, right now, I'm just going to invite you to ask yourself, who are you being right now? Are you allowing? Are you breathing? Are you in that state of being ready to contemplate what is going to come from this, our interaction right now? What's going to happen? How are you being excited, curious, wondering? Because, as I say, who we are being, how we are being, is how we will receive what is happening. When we allow, when we breathe and contemplate, we sometimes in just moments, we become in tune, in touch with the integrated self, and that is spirit, mind, and body. When we breathe, into our body, consciously taking that breath, we become present. Our body is always right here, right now, in the present moment. But our mind, that's another story. The mind can go off telling stories. It's going to tell you what it thinks about this situation, about this event, about that happening, about the feelings that we're having in our body. The mind can go into the past, project itself into the future. It can be anywhere but right now. And when we breathe consciously, we bring our mind into the present moment along with the body. And when we take that next breath, we allow that connection with spirit, the truth of our being, who and what we are. We might say it's an expanded consciousness. We might say we're breathing into that spacious sky, expanding our awareness from the clouds or from the storm or from that particular event that is finite. We're actually expanding into the infinite space, sort of like the openness of the sky, and we're comparing the event or the thoughts or the contraction as like a cloud or something going on within the sky. But we become open and receptive and allowing. So that's the ABCs: allowing and breathing, contemplating. And when we're there, we become very, very creative. We're in tune, in touch with infinite possibilities. We've stepped out of the box that is our finite situation, and we've expanded ourselves into the truth of our being, into our true nature, and expansion of consciousness, which will always include the solution to whatever it is we need. I've had several people question me about this word allowing, and sometimes I use the word accepting when I talk about being with what is. I sometimes use those words interchangeably, but I really do maybe prefer the word allowing a little more. In my book, I use the word accepting. I'm constantly growing and expanding and changing, but both of them, I think, carry that meaning of the idea of being with what is, because what is is. So last week I spoke about staying out of the jar, judgments, attachments, reactions, and resistance. And when we release ourselves from the judgments, attachments, and resistance, we find ourselves naturally being with what is. We're we're just right with it without thought, without comparing, without pushing or denying. We're just with what is. And that means, not putting blinders on, not sweeping the situation or our feelings about the situation under this proverbial rug. Instead, it really means being with what is, seeing it, whatever it is, as it is. Only when we do this are we in that integrated space of spirit, mind, and body, where we allow ourselves to be informed by our spiritual nature, that world of infinite possibilities, of infinite power and presence. And it's when we allow the situation to be what it is and our feelings along with it, and then breathe into it and contemplate or meditate, which is just consciously opening up to that present situation. Then from there, we are inspired in spirit. We're guided and directed to do what is ours to do. And so I've had people comment to me, well, I'll just accept. And in this particular case, it was the diagnosis. And they seemed very resigned and very unhappy. And I had to explain that that's not what it is. It doesn't end with resignation. It's not a resigning ourselves to what is. It's allowing, it's knowing that we are bigger in spirit, in consciousness, than any finite situation, that we are the expanded space of the open sky rather than being a cloud in a particular moment in that sky. Does that make sense? So there is no resignation. There's an allowing, which is an opening. It's an accepting of, yes, this is what is appearing to me. Yes, this is how I'm defining it or feeling about it. Yes, this is how it's perceived in my family or my friend group. Yes, I can, I'm with this thing, this situation, this event. That's allowing, but it doesn't mean do nothing. It doesn't mean there's nothing to do. Resignation would be more like contracting into it and resigning ourselves to this one little cloud. This is how it has to be. But that isn't, we're not the cloud. We're not our body. We aren't our hand that has carpal tunnel. We have our hand or our arm is experiencing carpal tunnel, something like that. We don't say, I am my hand. I am that. That's what I am. We say, I have that. We have these experiences, these events. We have a body. We have a finite mind that is judging and negative and limiting. And as we allow that to come up, we can look, oh, look, that's an old thought that I have about a limited idea about who I am, that I'm not smart enough, I'm not intelligent enough, I'm not educated enough, I'm not young enough, pretty enough, thin enough, fit enough. Whatever those thoughts are, we can just allow them to come up so that we can be with that in expanded consciousness so that we can discern our spiritual nature. And then from that place, that expanded consciousness, which includes spirit, mind, and body, now we know our true nature. And we can then declare that. We can name it and declare it for ourselves. That clarity comes to me, wisdom comes from within, not from without, not from the book I just read. It comes from this sense of being one in spirit, one with life itself. And in that world, in that space of infinite possibilities, is there a possibility of resolve for my problem, for my challenge, for my project that I'm ensconced in at this time? Yes. I was never more affected by a spiritual truth than when I heard this quote by Elie Wiesel, a Holocaust survival and Nobel Prize winning peace activist. He said, "The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference." And the rest of the quote is just as powerful. "The opposite of art is not ugliness, it's indifference." Oh, This, this quote moves me so much because sometimes in my life, I have allowed this sense of not doing or not participating or not becoming passionate. Um, I've allowed that to be an expression of what I thought a spiritual truth would look like, and it's not. Spiritual truth is passionate, it is alive, it is moving, it moves us into action, even as it allows us stillness. We are still in consciousness, and yet we are moved in form to do, to act, to change, to grow, to expand in form, in our situations, in the world of effect. Ah, let me read the rest of this quote. "The opposite of art is not ugliness, it's indifference. The opposite of faith is not heresy, it's indifference. And the opposite of life is not death, it's indifference." And that's what it means to be alive in truth, to be alive in spirit, and to be allowing, breathing, and contemplating. There is power in that. There is life in that. There is solutions in that. There is love in that. Elie Wiesel was powerfully indicating that indifference is at the heart of human social suffering. And as spiritual beings and as human beings, we are never called to be indifferent. Indifference isn't a quality of spirit. We don't say, "Oh, I was so indifferent today. It was awesome." you know, I was so apathetic today. What a great day. Said no one ever. It's a quality of the ego. It's a way of shutting down, of contracting. And I bring this up as a reminder that to experience our true nature of peace, peace is not indifference. Peace is a powerful state of being. Love and joy are not passive. They are powerful states of being. They move mountains, and it never indicates a time to be indifferent to the appearance in ourselves or in others of pain or loss or grief or suffering or confusion or lack or limitation. It simply means that we must allow what is showing up in our life, what is appearing in our path, to be seen for what it is, to be felt for how we feel it, and then to breathe, to expand that consciousness and to contemplate, to meditate, to allow ourselves to then be inspired in spirit as we are called to do what is ours to do. And it will never, ever be indifferent. We're never called to be indifferent or apathetic, right? That makes sense, right? So when we get the diagnosis of uh, cancer returning or losing our job, it doesn't mean we're going to resign ourselves to what is. It means we allow, we breathe, we contemplate, and we see it for what it is so that we can move ourselves beyond the state of being that the problem has arisen in. We move ourselves into an expanded awareness of the truth of our being, of consciousness, so that we can reveal the health that is already within us, so that we can reveal the solution to the problem that already exists in ourselves as infinite possibilities. That one possibility that we need will open and appear as a thought or an idea, to make a phone call, to write or journal, to go to a meeting, whatever that is. We will hear the next step out of that inspired state. When we get the news that a shooting happened, uh, and there were shootings here recently at the beach, whether it's at a club or a school, a public area, it doesn't mean that we allow and accept the situation and do nothing. It doesn't mean that we accept and are resigned to that's just the way it is and do nothing. It means that we allow ourselves to be, to listen, to hear, and to be moved by what is appearing in our life, to be with what is, to breathe, to contemplate, to meditate, to open up, to be inspired, and to do what we are called to do. And it will never be to feel indifferent, unconscious, unconcerned, or dispassionate. When we hear that turtles, whales, and dolphins are dying, that they're washing up on our beaches with their bellies filled with plastic and poison, it doesn't mean that we accept the situation and keep walking, keep going, pushing it aside, acting like it never happened. That's resisting what is. It doesn't mean that we accept and do nothing. It means that we see the situation clearly and that we breathe into it. We we surround ourselves with it. We immerse ourselves in it, and to feel what we feel, to be moved by the situation and contemplate what is mine to do here, to be inspired in spirit. And through that power and presence of spirit, we will know exactly what is ours to do next. And it will never be to be apathetic. When the rising ocean temperatures create 100-year hurricanes every single year, it doesn't mean that we just resign ourselves to that's the way it is and accept the situation and do nothing. It means that we dive into it, feeling what we feel, being with what is happening, deeply contemplating from that place of power and presence. And we listen to that small, still voice that says, what is mine to do? And it will never be to be indifferent. What is ours to do may not be obvious. It can be anything from complete social activism to finding the small, minute things, everyday things that we can do in our lives, in our families, in our communities for ourselves or our household. What can we do to make a difference? Indifference, apathy is an ego trait that we use to stay comfortable, to be complacent with what is, because sometimes our human nature just wants everything to stay the same. Don't move anything because right here, right now, in this way, I can be happy if everything just stays just like this. But the only constant is change. And we, as spirit, are the epitome of that truth. The nature of spirit is always uh, infinite, but our experience and expression of it in this world of effects is always expanding, growing. And as it grows us and moves us, and we allow ourselves to be moved with it, we find, guess what? More joy, more peace, more clarity, more power, more abundance, more community. We become a part of the healing for ourselves, our body, our finances, or our friends, or the ocean, or nature, whatever we are a part of. Because what we do is always making a difference. If we do nothing, if we are one of a million people who are doing nothing, trust me, we are making a difference. And if we are one of a million people that are doing something, that are recycling, that are not using plastics, that are doing little things or bigger things, or taking part of groups that are educating children and people and adults into using these small but powerful ways. If we are one of a million people that are doing something, we make a difference. We're always making a difference. We are always making a difference. So if you're here, if you're listening to this, you are integrating spirit, mind, and body. You are a spiritual leader. If you are here, you are a spiritual leader. You are making a difference. And you're never called to be stagnant, indifferent, or just comfortable. There's nothing wrong with comfort, but we're moving, expanding our idea of comfort as well. And please don't get me wrong, there are times for rest and relaxation. And that's that idea of being inspired. We know when we need to turn within and be still and stay in that place for rest and relaxation, vacation, unwinding, whatever those words are that we want to use. Of course, there's a time for that. And there is also that inherent urge to grow and expand. Spirit, life, the universe is always expanding, and it is never indifferent. Therefore, we are always expanding into a greater and greater expressions of ourselves as spirit. When we listen to this inner voice, this inspiration, again, we're in harmony, not only with what is, but with that next moment, creating what's new, what's possible, what is beyond what is showing up right now. And it is such an empowered and passionate place to be, creating from harmony, power, and peace, rather than being stuck or resigned to things just the way they're showing up. To just be getting by, to just be making do. No, no, no. We are so much more powerful than that. Well, I obviously am moved by so many things in my environment this week, and I hope you are too. I hope you spend this week just allowing and breathing, contemplating, and finding yourself in that expanded space of being inspired all week. Enjoy that. And if you have enjoyed this talk, please hit the like button. It helps so much getting these ideas to the people that love them, that need them, that want to integrate them into their lives, people like you. So maybe you want to share this with a friend. They're ready to stop being resigned and instead to be inspired, expanded, and open to new possibilities. So hit like, subscribe, and share with a friend. And you can find out more about me at elizabethcantey.com. You can find out more in my book. It's Living Enlightened, The Joy of Integrating Spirit, Mind, and Body. It's available on Amazon. And I hope you laugh, love, and live enlightened all week long. Namaste.